Are you coming with us? Yeah. Alright, let's go on the launch now. Let's go on a short trail. Okay. Alright, look, stop. No, short trail it is. Did y'all see this?
Your hip pointing down your line, Kelly. Your position itself looks really good except for that one right foot.
Doing it?
2, 3, 4. You can attach to the bridle. Check that right leg, Shirley, really.
My name is Sandy, and my daughter Gretchen rides here at Wildwood Farms. She is 9 years old, and we started riding here a year and a half ago when we moved here from Chicago. And we were looking for a barn close to home, and we looked at a bunch of barns in Alpharetta, but they were too far to drive to after school. This is nice and close. So that was what initially brought us here. What has kept us here is Hannah, and how she treats her horses, and how she treats her girls and her riding team. And she's a very gentle soul. She just loves these girls like her own, and she's not out there screaming at our girls and, you know, cracking the whip. She's just guiding them gently and, you know, making them want to love the horses as much as she does. And hopefully we'll be here for a long time.
As soon as you're ready, where you go. Dun da da dun da da dun da da. Very nice, Addie. A little more inside bend, look for where you're going. Bender, bender, bender. Inside heel could be a little more down, Miss Addison. Inside shoulder back. Elbows nice and still, Miss Alyssa. There you go.
I really appreciate Hannah. This is the best lesson I've had. And I had lessons in a very chic saddle club in Washington, D.C., and they weren't as good as this. Isn't that cool? It feels real here. It is real here. You actually get close to the horses. You actually do the work. You put on the saddles. You brush down the horses. It's, you know, where before it was all done for us. This place is natural and real, and it's a great experience.
What's unique about Hannah's is that she does natural horsemanship, so her horses live outside. The students have to go and catch them, so they have to learn kind of how to think like a horse and not make them run away, but to bring them to you and then convince them to do what you want them to do. We looked at other barns that the horse was in a stall. You didn't have to learn how to catch them, didn't have to learn how to put a halter on them or anything like that. And I love the fact that my daughter will know how to ride, but also how to care for horses.
My name is Paula Roach, and my daughter Avery Roach rides here with Miss Hannah. We've been coming here for going on 5 years now. It has been a wonderful experience from day one. The attention that Miss Hannah has given to Avery, the way she's just made her feel special, like there was no new skill she couldn't learn on that horse. It's been a pleasure watching her grow here at the barn with Miss Hannah.
I really like riding because every week when it's been really hard, I just come here and it's just like a release. And it's a really way to express yourself because you can ride really fast, you can ride really slow, any way to your liking, and it lets you get a lot of anger or stress out. I really like the compassion that she teaches with and how close she can relate to us. Whenever we fall off or we do something that we're not supposed to do, she always says that I did that when I was younger, but I always learned how to correct it. So it just really appeals to me, this whole, it's just an ideal place.
I think that Avery has gained a huge sense of self-respect and maturity. She is given the ability to stand with this wild, huge creature and take care of it. She learns its body language. You know, I have watched her grow from being very insecure and very timid when she first came here to being so comfortable on the horse. And it's amazing, grandparents who come and watch her do shows say, she's so comfortable up there. You know, how did she get to be this way? And it's from Miss Hannah teaching them. And she, you know, she stands down there at the ring and she will say, watch the ears, watch the body. Do you feel that muscle change underneath you? And you know, Avery hears it and she sees it, and you can see her eyes light up when it clicks and she gets it. You know, it's the examples that Miss Hannah uses when coaching them that we never got at other barns, which is probably why Avery was never very comfortable and didn't gain that confidence until we came here. And Miss Hannah she has a way of working with these girls and making them feel special. You know, most coaches tend to be harsh, sometimes critical, and Miss Hannah is never that way with the girls. It's every time she speaks to them, it is in a positive way. Even if it is, you know, telling them they've done something completely wrong, she has a way of saying it where they understand, their spirits are lifted, and they do it the second time better than they could have ever done it the first time. I mean, even when one of the girls falls off the horse, the first thing Miss Hannah does is she'll say, "Ooh, I'll give you a 9.5 for that fall." She goes to them, she comforts them, but she puts them right back up on the horse. And then they do it again, and they've learned from their mistake, and they're stronger than they were before.
We start off at the very beginning, learning how to groom the horse, how to saddle the horse, and then we go down and ride. And then the kids get to go on a trail ride, and then we come back to the barn, untack, and put your horse away. The whole process is taught so that they learn how to take care of the animal and not just come on and get on and enjoy the horse and then leave. The whole process is taught one step at a time. Horses are set up as belts in martial arts. We have your white belt horses all the way through to the black belt horses. And as the riders progress, they'll go on from one level to the next. And we take children as young as 5 all the way up through 65, 75, depending on how brave the people are. Primarily, most of the riders that ride here, though, are between the ages of 7 and 15. That's the bulk of the students. There are also a decent number of adult students. Adults typically ride in the morning, and the kids typically ride in the afternoon. I run about 50 lessons a week, which keeps me busy and out of trouble. I love people and I love animals, and so for this is an ideal job for me where I get to pair both of my passions together and create a wonderful lesson experience. Several things that makes us different from other farms is one is a sense of community. Everybody's a piece of this farm and adds to it. We have kids that come and help during the weekends. People are allowed to come and volunteer. So that great sense of community. We also have a different thing that I own all the lesson horses. So the horses are not transient. They don't come and go. Once they're here, they stay here if they work out well in the lesson program. The other thing is that we also show, but that's not the main emphasis. The main emphasis is becoming horsemen and not just riders.
Unlike other horse stables that we've been at prior to, where you know, everything is done for you. So this allows them to understand the horses better, and they get that connection.
I don't have any experience in horseback riding. It's just something that she loved, so I was a little bit afraid at first because I didn't really know what to expect, or it's a big animal and a small girl. So, but Hannah made us very, very comfortable, and I knew right away that she was going to be very cautious and not push Grace beyond, which is one of the things that I had heard about other horse farms, is that they'll push the kids, and I just didn't feel like this was an area that I wanted her to be pushed in. I wanted to be cautious, and I think what I love about Hannah is that she definitely takes into account each individual student and what they're ready for and what they're comfortable with. And so, yeah, I expect to see great things, right?
Our horses undergo a rigorous training schedule before they're ever allowed into the lesson program. However, they are big animals, and oftentimes things do happen. We do have an excellent safety record, though. A friend of mine gave me Monty Roberts' book, Man Who Listens to Horses. And I started looking through it. And I was reading through it and looking at it, and had all these different clues about all the horse language that I had seen those clues, but I had never put 2 and 2 together to come up with the unlocking the horse language per se. And so I wrote down the notes on 3x5 cards, and I said, "Lady," that was the horse's name, I said, "Lady, you and I are going to figure out if this works or not. Because if it doesn't, worst case scenario, I've already put 2.5 years into you, we'll just start over again." And within 2 hours, I had what Monty Roberts calls join up. She was following me around in the round pen. I could all of a sudden pick up her feet. Now keep in mind, I had been trying to pick up her right front foot for 2.5 years. And all of a sudden, within like 2 hours, I could pick up her feet. She was letting me lead her around. I could pet her, and I'm thinking, this is like magic. Almost like magic. And so I started practicing on every horse we had here. By this time we had about 8 or 9 horses here, and so every horse got to do a join up. And I had never seen a join up done. I had just read about it, and it took about an hour, but I didn't know it was supposed to only take 10 minutes. But I was getting excellent results, and I was doing a lot of outside horses here that were here for training, and it made my training so much faster and so much safer for both me and the horse. I'm also a trained instructor. I was trained by Monty Roberts, who, for those of you that aren't familiar with him, The Queen of England actually endorses him. I'm one of 32 instructors worldwide. There's only 2 here in the U.S. So I was taught to teach, which is awfully nice. I also have extensive teaching background from teaching school while I lived in Haiti. I've also taught extensively through here at Woodward Academy writing lessons and have been teaching here basically full-time since 1998. Since then, I have taught approximately, probably pretty close to 2,600 students how to ride, whether they're from little bitties to pre-Kers all the way up through adult students. So 14 years worth of teaching on a daily basis, year in, year out. It's a lot of fun. We have people from India here, we have people from the Ukraine, from the UK, from South Africa, from Canada, from Haiti, from the US. So it makes for a very diverse lesson group, and that's one thing that I love the best about our farm. Riding horses is a great way to build confidence. Every layer is one more step towards a higher goal. For instance, like you have to learn how to trot before you can go on to canter. You have to learn how to canter before you can go on to jumping. And every step that the riders get a little bit more confidence, and maybe they think that they can go on and do something a little bit more, and it gives them also a goal to work toward. And so when they get their goal, it's a huge sense of accomplishment. You hear the parents will cheer on the sidelines when you go over that first jump, for instance, or that first blue ribbon, or the first time you pick up a posting trot and your mishand doesn't tell you to fix your diagonal. Great sense of accomplishment, and it gives you time to, to build on to something new, and so that makes it really, really great. Riding horses is a great way to develop character, along with responsibility and achievement, whether it's at a show level, whether it's just a personal goal of learning how to do a certain thing, maybe learn how to jump a 2-foot jump, for instance. It helps them quantize their life in the sense that it gives every chance to have a different goal and a different opportunity. Which horse are we going to get to ride next? What's the next level up? We're not tied up here on one particular breed of horses. We have a little bit of everything. We have Arabians, we have Morgans, we have quarter horses, American paint horses, a draft cross, ponies of all different flavors and colors and sizes. And as we'll walk around in a minute, we'll get to be able to see a bunch of these different horses. To me, a good horse is a good horse regardless of the breed and the color. My question is, can they do the job that I want them to do? And they have 2 years to decide that. If at the end of 2 years a horse decides that they do not want to be a lesson horse, then I find them another job. We primarily teach English riding here. The reason being is I want to work on very much a balanced seat. And the English saddle makes you have to use your seat instead of the Western saddle, which kind of cups you and holds you into position a little bit more. If down the road you want to switch to Western, that's perfectly okay. I've shown Western and things like that, which is a lot of fun. And it's really nice for trail riding. But we have, let's say I have, oftentimes the Western horses are the best for English because they're trained to death. They've been there, done that, and so oftentimes I will take a Western horse and convert them into an English horse. Well, most of the time they don't mind the switch at all, but sometimes they do. And if they do mind, then I put them back to the Western. They can either do Western lessons or I find them another job. The trick is we want happy horses. Happy horses make safe horses, and that's what we're after.
Well, it looks there no nervous wrecks here. I don't see any aggressive horses, or at least if they behave sometime, then badly, then there's quickly a way to tame them and not necessarily beating them or anything like this. And it seems like Hannah knows what she's doing, and it looks like horses are happy as well. I do want to point out why we like this farm specifically and Hannah's teaching style and so on, because we've tried a couple more farms and the experience was not as personable. I don't know, even the horses are different for some reason. So, but we do truly enjoy being here, coming here, and even the dogs here are better.
We have the luxury here to have many different lesson horses. Every horse has a different lesson to teach. Some of them are a little bit more strong-willed, some of them are a little bit more willing, some of them might have some funky little quirks, and every one of them is a little bit different. So the more practice a rider gets on different horses, the better horsemen they become. And so when I set up the lesson schedule to begin with, is that I was looking for horses that I could fill into the different lesson spots. If I needed beginner horse, I need like beginner lesson horses, intermediate beginner horses, advanced lesson beginner horses, to the intermediate horses, to the very advanced horses. Kind of like belts in martial arts. I have my white belt horses that if you can sit there, they can go around the ring. And then a little bit harder horses that when you start learning how to canter, they're a little bit stronger, a little bit higher training and sense of cueing and stuff like that, and then they get to the bigger jumping horses, that they have more training on top of that. Every one of them goes through a rigorous desensitizing type routine, so the kids get on the wrong side. It doesn't matter if the kids would slide off the pony's butt. It doesn't matter. You know, so they're used to all that kind of normal stuff, but in the same breath, they have different cues depending on what level of rider they're expected to be worked with. We have 13 different lesson horses here, and every one of them kind of fits into a spot. Some of them are talented enough to be able to do 2 or 3 different levels at one time, and so it's nice to be able to have the kids are always asking, who's the next horse I get to ride? What's the next step up? Because they know that they have to try a little harder to get to the next step up. And so like if you start here, for instance, most people start off on a horse called Conspiracy. She's been teaching with me since 1997. She's taught probably pretty close to 1,800 people how to ride. And her job is walk trot. That's what her job is. She doesn't do any cantering, she doesn't do any jumping. Her job is to teach kids how to trot. And she will hold her trot around the ring for as long as you want to go. And it's really nice because I can trust her that she's not going to break into a canter, she's not going to take a jump, and so it keeps knowing the different horses so well, it makes it easier for me to pin them with the different people, so it keeps everybody really safe because we're extremely safety conscious. I own them so that I know they're properly maintained with dentistry, with chiropractic work, with massage work if they need it. They have the best of care that I can afford to give them, and I know them intimately. Most of these horses have been here over 10 years. Most lesson horses only have a lesson expectancy of about 5 years because they get so burned out on the riders, the continuous changing of riders, that they're overused. And we have enough of them that even if I teach 60 lessons a week, for instance, divided by 13 horses, that's not very many lessons per horse each day. And I only teach typically 4 days a week. So they don't have to, they're not overworked. I'm very careful they have adequate time off. They get at least 2 days off a week. They also get a month off during the year, which is very unusual for most lesson horses. And so they are fresh. They are looking forward to see the people coming instead of running to the back 40 like, please don't let us catch them today. And so it's different. We have enough of them that they're not overworked, which is extremely important because physically the work is not that hard on them. Mentally it's very hard on them because they're responsible for that rider, and they know that they're responsible for that rider. And it makes them, they have to be careful with them, and then they know that there are consequences for not being careful with them. It usually means that they get some retraining if they're being naughty and obnoxious. And so I'm very keen on that. And also being a horse trainer myself, is that if the horse needs some rehab training, I can give it to them when they need it. And so it doesn't have to be sent off, or it doesn't have to be done. The correction can be done immediately, and that way they're back on the straight and narrow, and it keeps them safe for their riders. These are 2 of my lesson horses. This is Sam and Caspian. Caspian's one of our newest ponies here. He came in last year. He had been used primarily in a big jumper barn, and they had overused him, and he was very sour and didn't want to work anymore. And as you can see, he's gotten to where he thinks people are pretty good again. He wins a lot of horse shows. This Palomino pony called Sam. Sam I am. You want to sit on the pony?
Yeah. They want to sit down.
These are 2 of my show ponies. Caspian would be probably one of my brown belt ponies. You have to actually really know how to ride him. Sam does both beginner lessons and also intermediate and advanced lessons, so he can do all 3 levels. Very special pony. This is Amber, Touch of Amber. She's one of our intermediate and advanced horses. She's a little Morgan mare and can jump like the moon. This is Kate. Kate's one of our beginner horses. She's also used a lot for the adult riders. She's also the adult beginner champion at the horse show. She's a 23-year-old Morgan mare that has been here since 2000 and was one of our rescue horses that came in. She came in with all kinds of naughty habits when she first came in, but she is an extremely good girl now. These are 2 of my very beginner lesson horses. This is Conspiracy. This is who most people start on. She's been teaching with me since 1997. She's one of our lesson horses. Her job is to walk and trot, and that's what she does, and she does it extremely well. This is a horse called Red. Red's our oldest horse here. He is 26 this year. 26 this year. He is also one of our beginner lesson horses. He is who, after you get to Conspiracy, if Conspiracy is not available, Red would be your next choice. He also does intermediate lessons to the crossrail level. He's a very good boy. Okay. This is a horse called Dusty. He is 17 years old, and he is one of our black belt horses. He works a lot in the upper level horse shows for the older students, as well as many of the adult students. This is Dexter. Dexter is one of our adult beginner horses. He is also one of our best show horses. This is Traveler. Traveler is one of our beginner lesson horses. He also does our intermediate stuff. He also shows locally. Traveler is 23 years old. Traveler's favorite speed is slow. He also likes to work on walking and trotting, which makes him ideal for beginner horses, and he's not terribly prone to being upset about anything that might be happening around him. He's a very quiet horse. For about 10 years we did a lot of breeding here. We bred primarily Arabian sport horses. One of the fun things with breeding horses is that you get to start them from the very beginning. So you get to watch them be born, but then you get to go on and work with them as young adults and then later on as older adults. And so you get to learn how to do all the very specialized training that it takes to work with horses so that you can feel what they're going to do before they actually do it. The other thing of being a horse trainer is, especially within a lesson program, is if the horse is misbehaving, let's say the lesson horse is misbehaving for whatever reason, is that with my background and my training, I can easily fix that problem before it escalates into a bigger problem. And so that makes it unique because it keeps everybody a lot safer, because while the horses is, in that moment we can fix it rather than having to wait for another trainer to come in and fix that problem. This is Dr. Daly. She is our horse chiropractor. It's very important that our horses receive the best physical care possible. We want to make sure that the horses are comfortable when the riders ride them so they can do their job easily without any trouble.
One of the cool things about this barn is that, when I get a call from Hannah, it's about she's been paying attention to the horses, either physical motion or behavioral or emotional stuff. And quite often she'll go to, well, let's take a look to see if it's something structural first before we think it's a training issue. I mean, Hannah's been really cool in that she doesn't try to train something out of a horse automatically. That she's in tune enough to realize, well, it's so easy to get out of alignment, and because they don't have the language to tell us, Hannah's aware of their inner language.
A horse acts like a mirror. So if you come in one day and you are all agitated and excited, within milliseconds your horse is all of a sudden all agitated and excited because they're feeding off of you. They don't lie. They don't think in their heads, well, I'm going to make this rider look bad. That never even thinks in their mind. They're mirroring what you're giving them. And every one of them is different, and every horse has their own little lesson to teach, and some are more tolerant, some are very playful, some are deadheads where they just let me do my job, and others of them are very emotional. And so it's a real good key on what the horse is doing in relationship to what the rider is doing, and they learn how to be more empathetic to their animals because the animals mirror them, and they always ask, how did you know? And I'm like, I didn't. The horse knew, and the horse told me, and I told you. I work with a lot of children that have Asperger's and have borderline autism or have autism, and it's amazing how the horse emotion comes through with the rider to where the two can connect and almost get to where they're at a higher functioning level as they work together. And I've done a lot of retraining on therapy horses, and the therapists that I work with say that a benefit of a horseback ride lasts 72 hours. It makes the brain fire on any of us at a higher level of resolution for 72 hours before it finally fades back out. So for your kids that have ADD, ADHD, Asperger's, autism, anything like that, strokes, for older people, or any people that really could have strokes, but it makes your brain fire at a higher level, and it makes your reading better, it makes your writing better, it makes your math better. Who knew that sitting on a horse could do that? But the motion of the horse working makes the brain fire at a higher level. And so it's incredibly therapeutic. Even though you don't know you're doing therapy, you're doing that as well as learning how to be outside and have fun and enjoying these wonderful animals.
I'm Dr. Gail Daly. I am a AVCA certified animal chiropractor. I've known Hannah Campbell out here at Wildwood Farms for probably 6 years. She called me to start looking at a couple of horses. I realized very quickly that Hannah was very in tune with what the horses have going on with them, possibly structurally. She is very quick to notice behavioral or emotional or performance changes with the animals, and she gives a really clear, concise, in-depth description of what's going on with these animals. And she'll tell me what her opinion is as to what she thinks is going on, but she's been really open-minded with this whole process of, let's see if it's something chiropractic or even veterinarian when it comes up for time for some vet calls. But in my case, chiropractic issues that may be causing the animals discomfort or behavioral issues. Instead of automatically just trying to train something out of them, she's very compassionate with the process. When I come to the barn, I'm not only doing manual adjustments, but I can get out any number of tools to help. I can use magnets, and Hannah's very open to this type of thing. I was just doing some trigger point work on one of her horses and releasing some ligaments, thinking that the horse maybe had a headache, and she was open to all of that. And so Hannah's facility here I find to be different from a number of others in that I just think that she has a whole different level of compassion and looks into further causes of why the animal's not doing well.
She anticipates pain, and so she's thinking that it's going to really hurt, but then once you actually start pushing on those trigger points, she starts relaxing because she's like, oh, that feels a lot better. And so her problem is a pain-based problem, not a behavior-based problem.
I was raised on a farm. Horses were part of our life. We worked with horses to farm with. And later on we got into tractors, but the horses, the animals, were always part of our culture. And so it's kind of easy to transfer that to our kids. And then as the kids grew up in that, I never realized that I was training my own daughters to be involved in horses and in agriculture and all kinds of different stuff. They learn how to fix harness, fix saddles, fix bridles, fix halters, and all that kind of stuff from the time they were just little guys. And in riding training, there's all kinds of different dynamics that need to be involved. It's not just riding the horse, but it's also the maintenance of the horse, the looking after the horse, the treating the animal as an animal, but in helping you connect with that animal. It's a learning experience for you to learn how the animal functions, but it's also learning to understand the animal from their perspective. Hannah, in this end, tries to cross-match the two. Instead of changing the animal to fit the person, they try to fit the person to learn the animal so that the animal can feel at home with the person and the person can feel at home with the animal.
I had the privilege of growing up on a farm, and so I've had horses since I was about 3 years old. And so we started off in Northwest Haiti. I believe you heard from my dad earlier about it, how we had horses that we used for animal traction, introducing them to horse and buggy and teaching the people how to use the horses to pull wagons instead of having to carry them on their back all the time. And then so it was a natural progression for me, since I was a horse crazy girl, that all the vets that would come into town, I would translate for them and work with the different animals. And so when we got here to the States, it was to not have a horse was like cutting off my right arm. I mean, I even rode horses to school all the way from from kindergarten all the way through 7th grade and then on into high school. It was either ride or walk, and of course, why walk when you can ride? My little boy is getting to where he wants always, it's watch me, mommy, watch me. And I think it's really important for parents to be a part of the kids' life in that sense, so that they can actually help watch their kids and not to be distracted, not to be caught up in our plastic world where everything is text messages and computers and video games, and to actually be a part to interact them and watch them and celebrate the little victories along the way. You know, maybe it's like graduating to the next level of horse. Maybe it's getting to ride Traveler instead of riding Conspiracy, because it means that you've stepped up a level. And to get to kind of watch the progression as they continue on. And like I always tell parents, is that if fun can be measured in dirt, you know the kids had a good time. We encourage kids to help and work and be a part of it, because oftentimes kids here are not encouraged to really help or participate. They're almost expected to be, they're catered to too much. In reality, they need to be a part of something. They need to have some ownership of it. And so I get them to help me fill up water troughs and help me open and close gates to put out hay, and they have to clean their own equipment. and it encourages them to be better than what they already are. And so that hopefully by the time when they get to adults, they will already have learned good responsibility, hard work ethic, that, you know, you can put your mind to anything you can do as long as you go after it. You know, around here I always laugh and say that can't is a dirty word, because it is a dirty word. Can't just means you haven't tried hard enough yet, or tried something different. But it gives them ownership of it. It also teaches them the reality of, you know, that you have to try. You can't just, things aren't just handed to you. And I think that's what will help build leaders for the future, and that's what we're after.
More. You can do it. You can do it, good girl. More cancer. Be a little more aggressive with him. He's being a little pokey.